Thirdly, there's a direct attempt. It's now beginning to be clear to me, and I'm going to give you the third empirical evidence that they don't want opposition on the ballot. And please, I would like to beg President Tinubu, see, if you win an election with a competitive opposition, I'll be the first to congratulate and say, this is your political prowess. We know you are the Jagaban. We know you have master strategy. But please let the opposition breathe. As I was watching this morning, I just saw a newspaper, story and cutting from the Tribune newspaper, where, very interesting story, and I'm going to point it out to you, Ayo. The Tribune newspaper this morning, Attorney General asks courts to deregister ADC, Accord, and 3 other parties. Attorney General urged Federal High Court to compel INEC to deregister 5 political parties. In the court filing, the Attorney General contended that unless the court intervenes, INEC will continue to act in breach. The suit marked FHC ABG CS 2637-2026 was filed at the Abuja Judicial Division that lists incorporated trustees of the national. So when you have this, plus the case that will be decided today, all right?
Yeah.
Then plus the judgment that was gotten yesterday at the Federal High Court, anyway, all of them will be nullified when the Supreme Court judgment comes because it supersedes all of them. When you have all of this stuff, plus what Bajabi Amila did say that will scatter them and all of that, it's an attempt to be able to have a weakened opposition. And it impinges on the integrity of the elections. So President Tinubu, whoever that is telling you that this is the route to go, he's not advising you well, because history and posterity will judge. Because when it will be said, even if you finally win the election, when it will be said, we will say, oh, that election where he suppressed opposition and never gave them, it will be there. It will constantly dog your career. And you will be the first president under the return to democracy that has done such a thing. Because even Buhari, that calls himself a convicted Democrat, didn't do such a thing.
Now, one major issue that the Supreme Court is likely to pronounce upon has to do with, one, jurisdiction. Whether the court has jurisdiction to inquire into matters involving political parties. Yesterday, on this table, we discussed Section 83 with Magaji Mato, SAN. So I look forward to what the Supreme Court is going to say about jurisdiction, about Section 83, and whether or not the courts can inquire into the internal affairs of political parties, which was the major argument put up by I think Okutepa, SAN, counsel to the David Mark group. The other development is the matter in the Federal High Court involving Norman Obinna and 6 others, leaders of the party at the state level, who were questioning the constitutional authority of the David Mark-led faction. Now, the court, or the Federal High Court, pronounced on that and said, look, this was a matter that came by way of originating summons. They more or less upheld the position of the Court of Appeal on March 12 in the matter. But the Supreme Court, going to pronounce today on PDP matter, ADC matter, would provide greater clarity, and as it were, in terms of the issue of the hierarchy of courts. Of course, the position of the apex court will lay most of the issues at stake to rest.
And that's why a lot of people are making the argument that Buhari is looking like a better Democrat. Wasn't it during Buhari's time that an opposition person went to thank Buhari after a governorship election that thank you for not interfering? I mean, we had that now. Wasn't it under Buhari that the governor of Edo State, Obaseki, switched to another political party, PDP, and he fought against the incumbent party, and he beat the incumbent party in an election? But those days are long gone. I know people are going to quickly make the case. What about Abga and Anambra? Those are outlier cases. Those are President Mr. Soludo pretty much supports President Tinubu. He's expressed his support and everything. So let's not deceive ourselves. So when you have outlier cases, you can't use them to make arguments. As you